Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. The topic we started was biologics in pharmacognosy, course number 418. We were doing the drugs which are known as biologics, which are basically animal and plant-derived components, but they are actively used in the therapeutic and certain times cure and certain times in the treatment of various conditions in body, specifically for the immune system. So firstly, they were used in the treatment or for the cure of the immune disease, but later, nowadays it is also used for the cure of or the treatment of cancer as well. We were doing different vaccines, type of vaccines, in which we have done the measles, mumps, rubella, and the other vaccines. Now the next vaccine is rabies vaccine. Rabies is, is a condition which is caused if you get bitten or if anyone get bitten by a rabid dog. So in that condition, vaccine is given, which is called rabies vaccine. What type of vaccine it is? Let's see. No safe attenuated strain of rabies virus has yet been developed for humans. There is no safe attenuated strain which for rabies virus has yet been developed for humans, because this vaccine, it is basically they haven't made any type of vaccine which can be developed, which is very safe for humans. And after the injection or given rabies vaccine, the patient experience different neurological conditions, which are the side effects of this vaccine. The vaccines which are currently in use are the neuro tissue vaccine and human diploid cell culture derived vaccine. What is the neuro tissue vaccine? It is here the virus is grown in the spinal cord of rabbits, and nowadays it is also grown in the spinal cord of mouse as well. And then they are inactivated. There is a high incidence of neurological complaints following administration of this vaccine due to a hypersensitivity reaction to the myelin in the preparation of and largely it has been replaced by but it's still, this neuro tissue vaccine, it is still in use, but in many patients you can see hypersensitivity reactions. It is now replaced by a human diploid cell culture derived vaccine, which is also inactivated, and it is much safer. But it's not it's not being used very much, or it is not readily available. There are two situations where vaccine is given. Why this vaccine is given, why you give this vaccine, of course, after biting, if someone is bitten by a dog. Post-exposure prophylaxis means following the bite of a rabid animal, a course of 5 to 6 intramuscular injections starting on the day of exposure. Hyperimmune rabies globulin may also administered on the day of exposure. Basically, it is given after the exposure of the after being bitten by a rabid animal. But there are certain times where it is needed to be to be given for prophylaxis or for the protection from these type of conditions. How and to whom? Pre-exposed prophylaxis is used for protection of those whose occupation put them at risk of infection with rabies. There are certain types of people who are at risk with rabies. For example, vets, veterinary, those persons who are, in the area where they treat animals. Aviators means those areas, slaughterhouses like that, and laboratory workers. They should be, they should be given for the prophylaxis of the disease. This schedule is 2 doses 1 month apart and a booster dose 1 year later. Further boosters every 2 to 3 years should be given if the risk of exposure continues. Now, next is influenza. Repeated infections with influenza virus are common due to rapid antigenic variations of viral enveloped glycoproteins. For influenza, the different type of you have to give repeated doses or repeated infections you can get, because the virus of the influenza, they they tend to change, or there is a antigenic variations in the cover of what you can say the viral covering, which is a glycoprotein. There is a continuous change in that. That's why you get repeated infection, and that's, I think, it's also happening with the COVID-19, that it's it's evaluating, because it's the glycoprotein, or the matter with which the viral is formed, it's constantly changing. That's why we are getting the repeated infections. Same is with in the case of influenza as well. Antibodies to the viral neuroamidase and hemagglutinin proteins protect the host from infection. However, because of the rapid antigenic variations, new vaccines containing antigens derived from influenza strains currently circulating in the community are produced every year, because there is a constant change in the antigen. So there is the process of making influenza virus is it's ongoing process, and the scientists are making new vaccines with variations. Surveillance of influenza strains now allows the inclusion of appropriate antigen for each season. After much discoveries and much research, it has been determined that there are few strains which are common in certain time of the year. So that for the protection of those types of influenza which are particularly for the particular season, then the particular type of vaccine is being prepared, which is given to at that time of the year. The vaccines consist of partially purified envelope protein of inactivated current influenza A and B viruses. Means they are basically composed of these vaccines are basically composed of the protein, basically, which is of inactivated current influenza A and B strains. Individuals who are at risk of developing severe life-threatening disease and infected with influenza should receive vaccines. There are influenza in a larger term. It is not a disease which causes death, but there are certain individuals who have more risk of dying through this disease. So those type of patients must receive this type of vaccines. People at risk include the elderly, immunocompromised. I think these are also for the COVID-19 patients as well. People at risk include the elderly, immunocompromised individuals, and patients with cardiac disease. In these patients, protection from disease is only partial, but the severity of infection is reduced. Same is the case with COVID-19, that we are getting the vaccines, but it is not eradicating the disease, but the intensity of the severity of the infection is reducing. Okay, next topic is venoms and antivenoms. What are venoms? Basically, venoms are poisonous substance produced by some animals. There are certain animals, anthropods basically, which produce these types of things, which is of material which is poisonous, or with which human can die or have, not necessarily this poison cause death, but there are it can cause other physiological effects as well. So they are known as venoms. And envenomization are of two types. The way animal basically puts that venom into the body, or spray or bite a venom into its prey's body, is are of two types. Number one is the passive envenomization, and the second is the active envenomization. Envenomization can be of different types. What types or the action of venoms are of different types. They can be neurotoxins, they can be cytolytic or hemolytic, hemorrhagic, vesicating, or blistering. Means neurotoxins means those which affect on your brain or in neurons or neurocells. The example is black widow spider. If someone gets bitten by black widow spider, they probably, the type of poison is the neurotoxin and the effects will be neurotoxic effects. While the hemolytic and cytolytic effect, the example is brown rescuer spider. It is also a spider which causes the hemolytic or cytolytic effect. Moth larva usually, when it bites, hemorrhagic conditions appears, while blister beetles are example of the type of poisonous action it produces is vesicating and blistering. Blisters appear on the screen. Okay, now there are certain types which, the venomous animals are, classified according to. Means there are certain which have stings. There are certain times they don't sting. They have a pouch or a teeth, or some certain times they spray or they bite. So we categorize according to that. Number ones are stingers. Among stingers, the examples are honeybee, bald-faced hornet, paper wasps, and yellow jacket, red imported fire ant, and scorpions. There are different types of stingers. These are honeybee, bald-faced hornet. This is kind of a big type of insect. Okay, paper wasps, these are wasps. Yellow jacket, these are also type of wasps. Red important fire ant, and scorpions. Okay, number one, scorpions. Scorpions are easily distinguished from other arachnids, means those arthropods, by their large, well-developed claw and distinct division of the abdomen into a broad pre-abdomen and a narrow tail-like post-abdomen. You must have seen a picture of Scorpio, so it is only a description of that, how they look like. All scorpions are venomous. They all contain venom, but this is to remember that only about 25 species worldwide possess venom of sufficient toxicity to kill humans. Means it is a common myth, or it's a common understanding that even if a scorpion bites you, it will kill you. But it's not like that. Even though all these scorpions are all venomous, but only about 25 species are there in the world which possess the venom which is sufficient to kill a human. Not all the scorpions bite will kill you, will kill anyone. The venoms with severe toxicity are usually the type of toxicity which it possesses is neurotoxicity. Bites, those which bites are spider. The example is black widow spider, brown rescue, and hobo spider. And the others are centipedes as well, which also bites. You can, see the picture of each of these animals, which I'm giving you as an example. Venomous insects. There are some venomous insects as well. Problems caused by adult moth are dermatitis, respiratory disease, and lacrimal and blood feeding. There are some venomous insects, among which the example is the adult moth, which if bites someone, it causes dermatitis, it can cause respiratory distress and lacrimal and blood feeding, while problems caused by larva moths are dermatitis, stinging, and venomization, which is type of allergy, and hemorrhagic manifestations. Okay, this is very important and this is very helpful if you keep this in mind, because when a person is bitten by a venomous thing, you don't know what type of venomous thing it is. So to determine that, or to know what type of arthropod is responsible for the um poison, or for the condition which a person is coming to you, then you, how will you assess, or how can you determine, or you can determine what type of animal or what type of arthropod have is responsible for that poison. Then these are certain questions which are important. If you ask, and then you may know that at least you can have certain idea that this type of animal has have bitten this person, and then you can easily manage those poisonous effects which are producing on him or her, and you can easily treat those things, and you can even save life. Okay, if the patient remembers seeing removing the biting or stinging bugs, then what you ask him, because there are certain type of people, not all the people can tell you exactly what it is like, because not all have this ability to comprehend, or you can tell what जो है, what type of animal is this. But if you ask someone these type of questions, patient remembers seeing removing if the biting stinging bugs, was it worm like? If you ask them, if was it worm like, yes, it's centipede and caterpillar. It might be a centipede or caterpillar if it is a worm like. Was it firmly attached? If it's attached to the body, then it can be tick or pupicalized. Did it jump greatly? That is flea. Was it beetle like? It can be blister beetle. Was it very tiny, head of a pin or smaller? It can be mite, immature tick. And did it fly off? Then it can be biting fly, mosquito, bee, wasp, or hornet. Patient did not see or remove arthropod. If it's not a thing like that, if we haven't seen anything, then what time of the year did these lesions occur? Because in summer, the arthropods are different types of arthropods. They appear on different timings, so you can get an idea what type of arthropod it is. So spring and summer, the arthropods are likely, they are arthropods. What time of day did the lesion occurs? If night, then mosquitoes. If outdoor or unseen house, bed bugs also possibly possible in indoors. Where were you when these lesions occurs? Outdoor, that is biting flies, mosquitoes, fire, and ants and chiggers. Indoor, if it's your were indoor, then flea, mites, or bed bugs. Do you own pets, especially ones which go outside? Then it can be fleas, ticks, chitlins, and mites. Did you go hiking, fishing, or hunting prior to lesion development? It can be ticks, chiggers, because these are the arthropods which are live in a surrounding where there is a lot of vegetation. So did you go berry picking? These things do not happen in here, because this is something which I have downloaded from a book which is and which is used, or which is about the animals which